Hi, I'm Stephen Hua. In this video, I'm going to concentrate on the subject of Fajin. I think most of you have heard about the term Fajin, and some of you probably know vaguely what it is. But in this video, I'm going to demonstrate the detailed effect of Fajin. The effect of Fajin on the person who received the Fajin, and also the effect on the person who delivered the Fajin. These effects are extraordinary. They are counterintuitive against the common wisdom, thinking what they should be. They are unique to Fajin. Lastly, I want to explain to you in detail how one learns Fajin. I'm going to use several of my old Fajin video, dissect it, and demonstrate these effects to you. And you will see that in these application videos, the Fajin movement itself is quite hidden. It's embedded in other movements. Just at a split second, the arm and shoulder lock onto the core, abdominal muscle, the back muscle, and deliver the internal power like this. So it's very difficult to see among all the movements, just suddenly this happens. And also it happens in a very short time period. A short time period, and the movement is very small. But the effect is very large. And in fact, from the effect, we can deduce what the mechanism of Fajin is. So now, let's take a look at the first example of Fajin's effect. I'm going to coin a term, ordinary force. This is in contrast to force from Fajin. So if you apply an ordinary force to a subject, there will be an equal and opposite force coming back to you. So if I'm standing straight like this and apply the force, I'm going to push myself back because it's the rebounding force push me back. So most time when people apply force like this, they use the forward lean posture. Now the rebounding force coming back transmits through the body, through the back foot, and absorb on the ground. So in this case, you can prevent your body leaning backwards. So now, let's take a look and do the same situation, what happened when one uses the force from Fajin. I'm going to punch Tom Kostosiak with Fajin. This move generally called 1-inch punch. And Jim Roach is touching my arm to feel the muscle movements during the punch. Notice that Tom is at least 30 pounds heavier than I am. And he's also standing forward lean, getting ready for the punch. And I knock him backwards, and I'm standing straight. Almost looks like there's no rebounding force to push me back. Let's look at another example. I get hold of Tom's hand. Now he is going to try to kick me to get out of the situation. This move has two parts. The first part is a Fajin move. The second part uses ordinary force. And let's take a look at each one of these parts. This is the Fajin part. There is no obvious rebounding force. This part uses ordinary arm forces to pull him, and the rebounding force drags my body forward. It appears as though when we using Fajin, there's no rebounding force come back at you. But Newton cannot be wrong. So there must be another explanation. So let's take a look at the first example when we did. Remember, Jim is touching my arm to feel the muscle movement. Our conversation afterwards will give some hint to what other factors maybe play a part here. So how do you feel on the arm when I make the punch?
The arm feels very relaxed.
Right?
Not tense at all.
Right?
Before you punch. At the second that your fist makes impact, there is a tenseness.
There's tenseness, right.
It tenses up just at that second. So
I
there
see.
is no tenseness prior to the impact.
Impact. And afterwards?
Afterwards, it relaxes.
Relax again. In fact, I have another video in which I using 1-inch punch on my student, Dwayne Sanderson. And the picture actually shows that the muscle tense up only very momentarily when the power coming through and immediately returns to the relaxation. Agree with what Jim is talking about. Only tense up just a very short second. Let's take a look at that video. So we can postulate that the mechanism of how Fajin delivers its power is kind of like delivering power using a whip. When you are delivering power using the whip, the power wave travels along the whip, reach the opponent, hitting the opponent, and the rebounding force cannot come back because the whip is already limp, soft, so it cannot come back, and the rebounding force just die over there. The Fajin is the same way. The Fajin develop a bundle of power traveling through the body, through the arm, reaching the opponent. But when the rebounding force come back, my arm muscle is relaxed, my body is relaxed, so the rebounding force just cannot traveling back to the body. So it looks like there's no rebounding force, but actually it has a rebounding force, but it cannot transmit back to the body. The ability of muscle energize and then relax very quickly has been discussed in one of my another YouTube video. Title is Tension and Relaxation, Insight into Small Circle Tai Chi. If you are interested in more background, go take a look at that YouTube video. Let's take a look at the second important characteristic of Fajin. When you watch boxing matches, you will see a lot of body punches, which is very similar to the 1-inch punch I showed you in the examples. But you very seldom you see the body punch knock the person backwards. But in 1-inch punch, you always knock the person backwards. Certainly, in some time, the body punch by boxer hitting on the side, the guy got hurt and they went down. But if they hit in the center portion, they very seldom knock the person backwards. Certainly, the Fajin is quite powerful. Let's see this. This punch almost lifts Tom's body off the ground. But there is another factor play here. Let's listen to Tom's comments after he got hit by the 1-inch punch. Right.
Yeah.
And is the force coming at you very
quickly.
Very quickly, right?
Very quickly. Like out of nothing.
Like suddenly.
Right.
This is a very common feedback I got from those person who get hit with Fajin. That is, the power comes so fast, there's no time for them to readjust their body to yield of the force. So they feel their body is stiff and got the full blunt force of the Fajin. There is really two factors make the Fajin very effective. One is the strength of the Fajin. The other is the speed of the Fajin reach the opponent. Make the opponent no chance to yield, to reduce the power of the Fajin. So both these factors makes Fajin very effective in destabilizing the opponent.